Welcome to The Explainer. Take a nice, deep breath, settle in, and let's consider the title we're looking at, Why You Can't Be Alone Without Reaching for Your Phone. It's a heavy thought, right? Today, we're really diving into a phenomenon that, well, let's be honest, it touches almost every single one of us every single day. Let's just explore this space together for a bit. So, let me ask you a question. When was the absolute last time you stood in a queue, just waiting in line without looking at your screen? Think about it for a second. Just waiting, just existing in that space. For most of us, we honestly can't even remember, because the exact second we pause, our hands just automatically move to our pockets. It's like a pure unconscious reflex. You know, our days used to be built on these little everyday pockets of empty time, standing in the lift, waiting in line at the grocery store. Or think about those quiet 3 minutes right before you fall asleep, where we instantly start scrolling, right? Or the very first moment after you wake up. Maybe you're sitting at a table waiting for a friend to arrive. Historically, these micro moments were just pauses, natural breaks in the rhythm of our day. But now they are instantly, entirely filled up. And honestly, this completely reframes the entire conversation we need to have. We love to tell ourselves, oh, I'm just checking the news, or I just need to reply to this super urgent message. But research points to something else entirely. The phone has actually become a psychological shield. We aren't really looking for information anymore. We're using that screen to escape boredom, the slight anxiety of uncertainty, and honestly, our own unprocessed feelings. Which brings us to this absolutely crucial concept, the tethered self. What is it? Well, it's basically a state of constant connection that we use to avoid the sheer discomfort of our own inner silence. We've literally become tethered to the network. Think about it. Without our devices physically in our hands, we almost instantly start to feel totally adrift, vulnerable, and just uncomfortable. Section 1. The value of solitude. So to really understand why this constant reaching for a device is such a massive problem, we have to look at what we are actually losing in the process. And a big part of that is how we confuse two very distinct states of being. On one side, we have loneliness. That's feeling isolated, adrift, like you're completely lacking connection. It feels bad. But solitude is entirely different. Solitude is the actual psychological capacity to be at peace with yourself. It's a positive, absolutely necessary state where you can actually sit and hear your own thoughts. Loneliness is failed solitude. Let that sink in for a second, because it's a profound realization. Basically, if you cannot stand to be alone with your own mind, you are always going to feel lonely, no matter how many people are crowded around you. If we lose the ability to just sit quietly in silence, our solitude fails, and loneliness is what takes its place. Because here's the thing, solitude is exactly how we recover our inner order. Let's face it, life is messy, it's overwhelming, it's emotionally taxing. Sitting quietly with yourself isn't just some nice to have. It's a basic human requirement for processing all those complex emotions and finding your way back to a baseline state of peace. When we constantly bypass that quiet time by staring at our screens, those unprocessed emotions don't just disappear. They pile up. They just wait in the background, creating this constant low hum of anxiety. This leads us perfectly into Section 2, the always-on condition. If we're actively avoiding solitude, what are we replacing it with? We're replacing it with this always-on mindset. It's that feeling of constant background connection, just knowing the phone is right there waiting in your pocket. It's the intense neurochemical high of multitasking, right? Texting while you're trying to work or feeling like you have to listen to a podcast every single time you step outside for a walk. Our bodies literally reward us with dopamine for being constantly stimulated. But the result? We are left completely exhausted. We're keeping our minds relentlessly busy, but we are never, ever truly present. The direct, heavy cost of that always-on mindset is something called continual partial attention. It's the act of being physically present in a space, but mentally, you're marked completely absent. Just picture a group of people sitting together in a beautiful cafe. They're sitting close to each other, but their eyes constantly dart down to their screens the second a notification lights up. They are physically there, sure, but emotionally, they are completely tethered to an absent digital world. Listen to this direct reflection from someone navigating our modern digital life. I don't have enough time alone with my mind. It really highlights this tragic paradox we're living in. Our technologies promise to make us so much more efficient, right? They're supposed to save us time. Yet the overwhelming consensus is that they actually leave us feeling entirely depleted, chronically rushed, and totally robbed of the time we need to just sit and think. The crazy thing is, the more connected we are, the less time we actually feel like we possess.
Which brings us to section 3, the hidden costs.
Living in this constant state of continual partial attention exacts a deeply serious psychological toll. You see, a tethered mind is a purely reactive mind. It just sits around waiting for the next ping, constantly dodging inner silence, and basically operating entirely on the surface. Conversely, a stable mind is reflective. It's grounded. It actually has the bandwidth to truly feel emotions rather than just frantically trying to numb them. Without the regular practice of solitude, we gradually lose our ability to make conscious, deliberate choices. And worse, we lose the capacity to enter into our relationships from a solid place of stability. And here's the core reason why we do it. We happily trade the messy, unpredictable complexity of real life for digital environments that we can completely control. Because real life, actually having a face-to-face conversation, dealing with a difficult emotion, or just sitting alone with a really complicated thought, that is incredibly demanding. It is messy. But a screen? A screen is highly curated. It's a completely frictionless space. If a conversation gets a little too difficult online, you know what? We just log off, or we leave them on read. We actively retreat from the demands of reality straight into a controlled, safe little box. Think about this realization. We use our devices to escape the discomfort of our own inner silence. This completely changes the narrative for me. This isn't just about some generic phone addiction. It is a literal avoidance of the self. Being alone with our thoughts actually feels unsafe to us now. The quiet feels way too loud. The next time you feel that sudden, desperate urge to scroll, recognize that it's almost always because the silence in your own mind has just started to feel deeply uncomfortable. Let's move to section 4, reclaiming inner silence. So what do we actually do about this? How do we navigate this modern reality? Well, definitely not with strict punishing digital detoxes or rigid rules. Instead, try these gentle practices. Think of them as soft, welcoming invitations back to yourself. First, just try to leave small pockets of empty time in your day. The next time you're stuck in a queue, literally just wait. Look around. Take a short walk without a podcast blasting in your ears. Let the actual world be your soundtrack. And honestly, allow boredom to return. Because boredom isn't the enemy. It's actually the birthplace of creativity and deep reflection. Now, when you try those gentle practices, I want you to try something else. Just observe the anxiety that naturally surfaces when your phone isn't in your hand. You don't even have to fix the feelings. Just watch them. Does a wave of anxiety bubble up? Do a bunch of unresolved thoughts from your workday suddenly rush in? Does a sense of sadness, or maybe even relief, wash over you? Simply observing the discomfort of your own mind without immediately reaching for a screen to numb it out is the very first major step toward reclaiming your psychological freedom. And this is exactly why it matters so much. Being able to sit with yourself is not a luxury. It isn't some fancy spa treatment for your brain. It is the absolute foundational requirement for having emotional clarity, for building a stable identity, and for maintaining any kind of focused attention. Think about it. If you cannot sit with yourself, you cannot truly be present for your own life, let alone be there for anyone else's. Which brings us perfectly to our final thought. Sitting with oneself is the beginning of real connection. If you really want to connect deeply with the people around you, it has to start right here, inside, in the quiet, in the solitude, without the screen. Thank you so much for joining me on this explainer today. As we wrap up, I want to leave you with one final provocative question to think about. The very next time you find yourself with just one empty minute of silence, what are you going to reach for? Your phone or yourself?